Well, I thought that other side of the tape was absolutely first class, but now we're in a muck, because what are we going to do on this side?
Well, I mean, let's put it like this, Jim. After getting off a jet and coming here and giving us your real valuable time, I know you've got to dash off in 2 minutes, and let's face it, there's not much you can say in 2 minutes.
Are you going to keep playing the piano while I'm talking to you?
Just a minute.
No.
Let me do the right thing and do the introductions. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for supporting the Goaldiggers. I'm sandwiched between two chairmen, the piano player from Watford.
You can't start like that.
Elton John.
It's not that kind of
and
organisation.
the chairman of the Goaldiggers,
formally like
Jimmy
that.
Hill, straight off the plane from Saudi Arabia, and looking at
Brian Salami, the well-known commentator. No, seriously, folks, this is your well-known balding chairman speaking. I think it's wonderful that you've all turned out to help us, and we'll continue to do so. And in fact, I've dried up.
But what's more important is that whoever's bought this record will have given a £5 note to the Goaldiggers.
Yeah.
And that whoever he is, whether he's your aunt or uncle or nanny or whatever, it'd be nice to have a male nanny, wouldn't it? But whoever it is has contributed that money and brought this record home to you, so there is a personal message that you can play on your own gramophone. I mean, Brian and I only remember when there were gramophones. Elton's got something different in his house. What do you got?
I've got a radiogram on one step up.
Now, Brian, what I thought we could all do, sitting on the plane last night, I thought it would be a good idea if we all told the moment in our lives when something went really wrong. Like, it must happen to you and
never goes wrong on ITV.
What, on that big match programme?
Even on the big match programme. It never goes wrong.
Only when they have me doing it.
Go on, then.
Tell us your funny story, Jim.
Yeah, tell us about your horse with the white spots.
No, I can't tell you about the horse with the white spots because that's got a rude word in it, and I mustn't do that. But I can tell you about the first time I ever went hunting. And I'd only ridden a horse for about... wake up. We'd only ridden a horse for about 3 months, and hunting is a very frightening business because you've got your crop in one hand and you've got the reins in another, and a very lively horse. And we met in this village street, the lovely pub on the side of the road there, and I noticed that people were taking their hats off to say good morning to each other, and I thought, I hope nobody says good morning to me, because the problem of lifting my hat takes a hand, and I had one hand on, well, both hands on the reins and on the crop. Anyway, as it happened, this beautiful lady, must have been 70 years of age, riding side saddle, came up alongside me and said, good morning. It frightened the life out of me. I thought, well, I'd better make an attempt at it. I mustn't, as a footballer, I must represent football as well. So I let go of the reins, lifted my hat, put it down very quickly and grabbed the reins again. And at that moment, my horse let out one of those noises that horses are liable to let out at the wrong moments in life. And I didn't know what to do about it. I thought, and I said, I beg your pardon, ma'am. And she said, that's quite all right. I thought it was your horse.
Now, you were saying, Elton, that... what was it?
Get away from it.
My two friends made up their minds not to laugh at that, but they nearly killed themselves. Brian's ruptured himself there, and Elton, I think, may never sing again, which would be very sad.
Jimmy, I tell you what, seriously, we ought to do a straight piece and tell the ladies and gentlemen who may not have heard the Goaldiggers about the Goaldiggers and how it began and your part in it.
Well, all the people that were at the Goaldiggers ball.
I'd like some music while you're playing, because it's lovely with a little accompaniment, this. I think it's a lovely little story.
Don't play too loud, as you'll overwhelm.
No, I won't play too loud.
Right, play soft. If you play soft, I'll tell them about it. Piano, it's supposed to be a piano you're playing, pianissimo. So, how it started? Well, really, it started with a group of people who were crazy on football, arpeggio. And
that's the Italian right back.
With the idea of raising money to provide pitches, hard area pitches, on which underprivileged kids could play. There's a tremendous demand from them. People talk about the hooligan problem, what you do to satisfy it, or really not to satisfy it, to end it. And I think so often it's because kids have got energy they can't find another outlet for. And if we do our bit and provide the pitches around the country, they can kick a ball about to their heart's delight from dawn to dusk. And you see the high-rise flats so often in areas, and you'll see no ball games allowed.
In other words, you're plummeting off window boxes.
Yeah. But the little committee got together, and originally we had Michael Parkinson and Brian Miz is still there, founder member, Brian Forbes was the first chairman, and I took over chairman after a period. We played football matches. We're prepared to do anything to raise money for gold, even make fools of ourselves on a record like this. And for Elton, on the other side...
Jim, you're doing pretty well at the moment.
For Elton, on the other side, to compose and sing that really marvellous song. And Brian joined in to help because we had a couple of resignations on the committee and we needed more strength. And really this record, the ball at which this record was purchased, were all part of the new blooming and blossoming of the Goaldiggers for that cause. What about you? You mean to tell me you've never had a funny experience? But I mean, Brian, there was the time, I mean, don't tell me you've never made a mistake, when I was introducing Nigel Starmer-Smith.
The rugby commentator.
Well, it's 3 names.
Nigel Starmer-Smith, he said. Nigel Starmer-Smith, up and down the corridor, Nigel Starmer-Smith. And he went onto the air, and eventually he came to the point where he said, and now it's our rugby preview, and here to bring it for us is our rugby commentator, Nigel Starmer-Smith. And he got it right with enormous relief. And he went on to say, who had 7 craps for England as a scum half.
Oh, you laughed at that one, didn't you? Laughed at that.
What a generous man.
That one.
What a generous man. What a generous man.
That's what I mean. Everybody can make mistakes.
I said, you know, the timing on the ball when Norman Hunter pissed a fatness test. Yeah?
Oh, really?
Well, there you are. Pissed a fatness test. I knew you'd made one mistake.
Only one,
in your
but that was
career.
back in 19...
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago. When you're in your 50s.
But I think we thank everybody for coming along and supporting the football charity.
The only football charity, folks. This is the only football charity.
And
the only worthwhile.
And do you realise you've got a record now that there can never be more than 500 in existence? It's going to be quite priceless in the years to come.